Hey, how you doing out there? We're gonna talk about Eric Adams, maybe a little on Kim Paxton from Texas. Gotta touch on the Diddy situation, some other news. Let's go. Oh yeah, I forgot. By the way, as always, you can join the show by clicking the link in the comment section. If you don't see the link in your wherever you're viewing, then go to I'm pretty sure it shows up on, hold on, let me see. What is going on? I'm having some issues. Invite, copy. Am I live streaming? It says I got check marks. I don't know what's going on. Whatever, we're gonna keep it moving. Click the link in the comment section if you want to join the show.
Don't take my word for it. Look that mess up, please.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka.
Educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized.
Learn to be active.
Looks like we got us another hit.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? How y'all feel? Remember, an educated public cannot be controlled. Learn to be active. The views and events expressed here are totally whack and not necessarily the views of anyone. ¿Cómo estás? Bien, bien, bien. ¿Podemos ayudarnos más? Sí se puede. Don't take my word for it. Look that mess up, please. For your own benefit. This has been produced for your entertainment and or educational purposes. So don't sue me. Yo, yeah, that guy, I'm not gonna do no news stories today, and we'll see how long it's gonna be. But I got time today. That guy, Eric Adams, New York mayor, I don't like this guy. Like, I just don't like him. Like, I was following his election when he was running, and that's when I came to the conclusion that I don't like this guy. He messed around and he won. And I don't know, I guess in New York, maybe he's done some good things, you know. What is it about New York? It's like you gotta be the most hated person on the planet to win mayor of New York. Is that how it works? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And the stuff that this guy's done, I don't know. Something about, I don't know. With our politics, if you're a prosecutor, you're a police officer, you got a better chance of winning. Is that what it is? Especially if you're on the Democratic side or whatever. I don't know, man. All skin folk ain't kin folk is one thing I can say for sure. And it's like, just be, Republican or Democrat or whatever party affiliation they have doesn't determine, their character, if you will. I mean, they suck on both parties suck, Johnson. There's some cool people on either side, I would say also. So it's like, what? Don't judge a book by its cover, or, judge a man on his character, or whatever you want to, however you want to say that. But oh man, this guy. So anyways, it's starting to look like the walls are closing in on this guy, catching up with this guy. And I have to say, it couldn't happen to a better person, man. You know, but what do I know? I'm just a guy. Hey, I'm just sharing my opinions with y'all. Free speech and all that, right? Let's look at this. I gotta find this. I should have put it where it's easily found, but I didn't. Maybe we could start with a video for him. Forgive me, y'all. Eric Adams. One second. He defends his administration. Is he next on the chopping block, the Hill? I think the walls are closing in on this guy. Let's play a little bit of this.
Allegations, federal probes, and resignations, Mayor Eric Adams says his team is focused, not allowing this growing ethical storm to be a distraction. News 4's Andrew Siff is at City Hall right now with what else the mayor had to say.
Mayor Eric Adams said on issues that matter, he's delivered.
I have one job, take care of the people of this city. And you know what? I'm doing a darn good job in doing it.
But instead of kudos, the mayor faces questions like why his police commissioner resigned, why his chief counsel, Lisa Zornberg, suddenly quit over the weekend.
If you're able to quote Eric says something or the chief counsel says something, then you are on target. Other than that, it's speculations and rumors.
Federal investigators seized phones from 3 members of the Banks family: Schools Chancellor David Banks, consultant Terry Banks, and Deputy Mayor Phil Banks. All have denied wrongdoing. So has another aide, Tim Pearson, the one-time NYPD commander who was Adams's supervisor at the police department. Today, the mayor said Pearson proved his value by cutting the exorbitant costs of the migrant crisis.
Tim Pearson's history in the police department of doing those type of analysis, we asked him to go in and look in, and we saved hundreds of millions of dollars.
Among those skeptical of that explanation, City Controller Brad Lander.
None of it instills trust in city government.
Lander said his office reviewed 12,000 city contracts and all too often found problems, like the NYPD's plan to fix the facade at headquarters for $5 million. He says City Hall improperly submitted the contract as an emergency. Asked if he thought the mayor should step down.
Look, this is why I'm running to replace him.
There are other challengers like State Senators Elnor Myrie, State Senator Jessica Ramos, and former Controller Scott Stringer. Adams said he's tuned it all out, just as he did when the feds seized his own phones 10 months ago.
I know how I live my life. I follow the law.
For now, Mayor Adams is hoping to shift the media and public focus away from the investigations and on to rats. This week, the mayor is hosting a 2-day summit aimed at decreasing the population of the infamous rodents. At City Hall, Andrew Siff.
Well, you can't expect him to deal with the dead rats. I mean, but hey, if they confiscate your phone, bro, like, doesn't it mean that they've already built like a case or whatever? They're probably just trying to put pieces together or whatever. Like, you're talking about I follow the law. We're gonna see, buddy. It says amid swirling allegations, federal investigations and resignations, NYC Mayor Eric Adams said his team has remained focused and has not followed the growing ethical storm to be a distraction. Yeah. Distractions. Everybody around you is resigning, and they're jumping ship on you, buddy. Somebody's gonna turn what do they call it? Turn state's evidence so they can freaking cover their own butt. You know it's a bunch of shady stuff. It's true in a lot of places, but New York especially. I don't know. I guess it's just so much. It's so much money, so much money coming through there. I mean, like these people just can't help themselves. Let's look at this. It says tracking investigations in Eric Adams' orbit. Look at all of these names, bruh. Timothy Pearson, Philip Banks, David C. Banks, Sheena Wright, Edward A. Caban, Winnie Greco, Brianna Suggs, Eric Ulrich, Rana Abasaba, Raul Pintos, James Caban. Are they brothers? Terrence Banks, Dwayne Montgomery, Sink Okel. It says Queens Precinct Commander, Queens Precinct Commander. It says inquiry into Adams, his campaign, and ties to Turkey. Inquiry into senior city hall aides and associates. Inquiry into a former police commissioner's twin brother. Other legal matters. New York Times, it says Mayor Eric Adams of New York, who faces a re-election in 2025, and some of the highest-ranking officials in his administration have come under scrutiny as several federal corruption investigations have reached people in the mayor's orbit. Neither the mayor nor others from whom information has been sought have been charged with a crime, and it is possible some of those targeted for searches are only witnesses, but the recent investigations have raised questions about Adams' fitness to lead the city, his ability to negotiate with the city council and with state and federal leaders to push his agenda, and his capacity to lure and retain talented people in the city government. Yeah, man, if it's so they said some of the people around him could be witnesses, but like this makes me wonder, you surround yourself around shady folks, then I would have to think that you're shady too. I mean, but we got to look at it on the other side as far as, it's an election coming up. They're talking about ties to Turkey. You've heard this kind of stuff before when it comes to politics. So, but as far as their phones being taken and then people like quitting and stuff, that's another level. It says officials with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York in Manhattan, which is conducting 3 of 4 federal investigations, have declined to answer questions about the scope, and their full scope is unclear. So 3 of 4 federal investigations. Ooh. Let's read some comments. Harbody Kiati, he says, they always do this to black mayors around election time too. They did this to Mayor Turner in Houston. It could be that they're black, or it could just be that they're corrupt, bro. Like, that corruption is a thing, people doing shady and illegal stuff is a thing, just because the guy is an ex-police officer doesn't mean that he follows the law to the letter. I have my doubts, bruh. And from the time he came on the scene, I've had my doubts about this guy. It has nothing to do with his skin tone. We got to stop using that as an excuse or as like the other way around, as like, a prejudice, like, black people are shady or black people are always innocent because I'm black or whatever. I mean, like, the truth is usually a little more complicated, a little more nuanced than that. I mean, if we were in elementary school, good and versus evil, white versus black or something, then maybe that would work. But in the real world, as an adult, things tend to be a little more complicated than that. Racist comment. It says, wow, so much diversity making us stronger. That person just couldn't help themselves. I don't know what's happening in Peru. It says, please share what's happening in Peru. Unless international media covers it, our government won't take action. I also want to alert people about the massive wildfire devastation in the entire Amazon in South America, which is causing the loss of thousands of plant and animal species. I don't know what's happening in Peru, so I'm missing that one. Another comment says, Eric Adams needs to resign. Comment says, is anyone actually surprised, though? We knew something. This would happen when they elected him. The NYPD background was a giveaway. Yeah, see, now that's more like closer to like reality, you know. Yeah. The NYPD background, you know. Hey, I mean, you guys want to say whatever the hell you want to say, but yeah, that comment right there sounds more like closer to reality. Better than the skin tone comment. Another one that says, wow, a U.S. cop thinking he's above the law that can abuse his power with impunity sounds all too familiar. Another, Gotham for real. We need Batman. Oh, man. Another comment, it says, corruption in New York City. Say it ain't so. New York City? Get a rope. Let's watch a little bit of the Hill covering this. New York City? Get a rope.
So, what is it with New York and its politicians? The problems surrounding New York City Mayor Eric Adams are quickly mounting. The New York City Police Commissioner resigned 1 week after the FBI seized his phone as part of a federal investigation that touched several members of Eric Adams' circle. The police commissioner said in an email that he made the decision to resign after, quote, the news around recent developments had created a distraction for our department. For those who missed it, last week, federal agents searched the homes of several senior officials in Adams' administration, including the police commissioner, 2 deputy mayors, and a senior advisor. It still remains unclear what the subject of the investigation led by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan is, and it's unclear if Adams himself will be indicted. He has denied any wrongdoing. There are now a minimum of 3 federal probes into Adams and his administration per slate. One is looking at whether Adams and his campaign conspired with the Turkey government, another on top city hall officials, and the third includes Kaban.
In other New York corrupt politicians news, the New York Times is reporting that former Governor Andrew Cuomo's legal bills have cost New York State $25.4 million. As of last month, the state spent $25 million representing Cuomo's legal interests in several of his top aides as they fend off their criminal investigations and civil complaints. Now, of course, a judge ruled this. Cuomo argued that Letitia James was wrong in denying him state assistance because this is when, he was acting within his duties, serving as governor. A lot of these complaints. So a bit of an official axe ruling there. And
that always happens, man. It's like that across the nation too. Like when these guys get in trouble, then the taxpayers flip the bill. It's just a common thing to happen. I don't know why they're gonna flip. The Hill can't seem to hold on to anchors, so I guess this is their new group of talent here. I recognize this lady from somewhere, but I cannot put my finger on it. But yeah, so anyways, back to New York. Freaking the subway system, right? He was like, we're gonna get rid of all of the crime in the subway system. We're gonna put a bunch of police down there, and that's gonna fix our problem. So how could that possibly go wrong? Let's look at this story here. I don't know if you guys heard about it. So it's like apparently someone was trying to jump the turnstile and they ended up getting shot. I think they got shot, and some innocent bystanders got shot. It's like $3 to get on the train, and that's enough reason to bust some caps in somebody. I don't know. It says this is what happens when we flood the subway system with police. A police shooting that injured 3 people and 1 officer is the result of New York Mayor Eric Adams' enforcement first mentality. So The Intercept. It says in a Brooklyn subway station on Sunday afternoon, police shot and injured 3 people and a fellow New York Police Department officer over a $2.90 fare. This is what safety and security looks like in Mayor Eric Adams' New York, where problems of poverty and hardship are met with policing and state-sanctioned violence, writes Tasha Leonard. At around 3 p.m. Sunday, at the Sutter Avenue stop in Brownsville, Brooklyn, a 37-year-old man allegedly evaded paying the subway fare. According to reports, 2 police officers pursued this man up 3 flights of stairs and confronted him on the station's platform. Police say the man pulled out a knife. Both officers opened fire on the man, piercing him with several bullets, while also striking 2 bystanders. One of the officers was hit with friendly fire. One of the bystanders, a 49-year-old man, is in critical condition in the hospital from a bullet wound to the head. It says, this is what happens when you flood a major transit system with a government-sanctioned, taxpayer-funded armed gang coated with official impunity and prone to violent escalation. So, yeah, and I was seeing about this story earlier, and it was like, so apparently they can't find the alleged knife that the guy had. It is missing. They can't produce it. It's gone. So I don't know, maybe he had a knife, maybe he didn't. Maybe he dropped it and somebody came by and picked it up. What do we know, right? But how many times does this happen when the police shoot somebody and they say they had a weapon and they don't? And what happens when you have bored, these police officers with nothing to do looking for some crime when there isn't any? What do you think is going to happen? I don't know. This just kind of connects to the Mayor Eric Adams story. The whole thing with the sanctuary city thing and him crying about that. And he's like, we're a sanctuary city. We're going to take care of these immigrants, da, 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 da. And then he turns around and he's like, we can't pay for this. This is destroying our city. Like, bro, bro. Like, did you not have some kind of like long-term plan for this situation? Like, I don't know. How do we get to this point where we have these people that are in charge who they seem to not be very thoughtful, if you will. They seem to not have much of a plan, if you will. Like they fail. It seems like they're incapable of doing what they're put there to do. Now, I ain't gonna lie, like a city like New York is complicated as hell. Like, I was reading the story related to the trash bins because he was talking about the rats, and they were like, you need to take care of the rats. It's a real huge problem. Let's fix this. And they started putting the trash bins out there, but then they did like a tax related to paying for it, and obviously the people of New York wasn't happy about that. But it's like they didn't have trash bins out there. Like, that seems like the simplest thing. I'm not blaming him for this because this is a thing that's been a problem in New York for a long time. But what is your system when you just have like piles of trash on the street? Like, there's no way you're going to be able to take care of the rats if you've got piles of trash on the street. Like, that's simple. And that's one of the things he was saying. We're going to clean up the streets. We're going to, fine people if they leaving trash out there. They put it out there too early. Like, they have specific times where they're going to go pick up the trash or whatever. But even with that, the little margin of error where the time is, the trash is sitting out there on the street is going to give the rats plenty of time to gobble up and then go chill until the next cycle comes back around. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. Like, and I know it's a lot of trash and it's a lot of people. So maybe that's the what gets in the way of having the trash bins out there, and then it'll be an eyesore too. But you got to find some kind of way around it. You can make it pretty. Here in Houston, they have those electric I don't know what the hell you call them. I ain't gonna even lie. I do not know what the hell you call them, but they're these little. They're usually green in color traditionally, and they're on the side of the road, and they're just like the metal container, and they serve a purpose. I can't remember right now what it is. I want to say it's an electrical purpose, and they're just kind of all over the city or whatever. So, but they started this project because I used to work at Home Depot, and I was talking to this guy who was coming in there buying paint. I worked in the paint department, and I was chopping it up with the guy, and he was telling me what he did, and he was like, "Yeah, you know those boxes, those green boxes." He says, "I paint those, and they pay me to do this, and I get to be creative, and I could put whatever I want to on them." So if you're in Houston, drive around, you'll see them. You'll know what I'm talking about because now almost all of them have like a decorative painting over them or whatever, and it's pretty cool. It's like it's art, and it's like it's not graffiti, it's like art, actual like some kind of art on it, and instead of it being like an eyesore, it's like kind of like something to look at. It's really cool. So what I'm saying is you could do something similar to that with the trash bins. Like here I am from the outside looking in, thinking I could solve New York's rat problem that's been a problem for decades that they seem to haven't been able to fix. But hey, I'm just a guy. Put the bins out there and paint them, make them pretty, make them big enough to be able to hold enough trash, and also make them compatible to the trucks that can come by and pick them up, without the trash man having to get out of the truck, and make them pretty, and I don't know. I guess they'll take up too much space on the street, so maybe that won't work. But whatever, man. The point is Eric Adams sucks. That's the point. Let's read some comments. It says we need free public transportation, no more militarized police in the subways. These capitalist elites would rather criminalize poverty than provide social services. I agree with that argument, but maybe there should be. I mean, it should be fee. I don't think there should be a fee, but you need to have some kind of system because if the homeless people will just ride the trains back and forth, and then you'll just have only homeless people on the trains because the other people probably won't really want to ride the trains if it's full of homeless people. Like, won't have no space for the people who need to get ready to go. So there needs to be some kind of balance with that, but yeah, I agree with the free public transit though. Another comment says, no, this is what happens when we don't properly educate and train law enforcement. There are plenty of police and subways all over the world who don't shoot citizens. I mean, this is true and not true because they always say this. Whenever something happens, they're like, oh, we need to focus on training. So, but what if it's not training? What if it's a culture issue? Something that's intrinsic, it couldn't necessarily be through the cops throughout the nation, but through specific police departments. They have a specific culture that involves like, being really brass and hard and gangster, if you will, and not caring about civilians, not caring about hurting people, and then being, not subject to any kind of accountability. It says the fare should be replaced with a tax to make the system free. Another one. And who pulls out a gun to combat a knife, especially when you're an officer who has a backup and the person with the knife isn't like, I'm just confused on what happens when these people go through training. I mean, sometimes that's a easy argument, but you don't know. Nobody wants to get stabbed. We'd have to see how far away the person was from the police officer. And like I say, they couldn't find the knife anyway. The guy maybe never had a knife. They needed something to justify the shooting, especially since they freaking innocent people got shot. One of their own people got shot. If that didn't happen, they wouldn't even have to do much of a report, probably. Another comment says, if you want to see what's wrong with our transit policy. Simply look at countries that have mastered it. Many European and Asian countries are surpassing us by leaps and bounds. That part is 100% true. We just can't seem to get that. Those same countries got healthcare figured out, and those countries have transit figured out. We just can't seem to get that done over here. Hold on, it was something I was thinking. Eric Adams related. What was it? The comments before this one made me think about it. Hold on. I lost it. It's gonna come back to me because he did something else. What was it? It's gonna come back to me, y'all. I'm sorry, I don't have no notes. No notes today. It says the only police bad areas in Astoria, Queens, there are 0 cops, and all people hop the turnstile. I saw a white dude in a suit do it last week. Another comment, we need peace officers. It's just that I believe many of them need an attitude adjustment. First step would be dropping the police on patrol cars and anywhere else and replacing it with peace officer. Maybe if they see themselves as peace officers, as in keeping the peace, they may have an attitude adjustment in the positive direction. Yeah, keep dreaming. Oh yeah, that's what it was. They were trying to, make it so words the police in New York would have to document every time they like pull somebody over or whatever. And Eric Adams was like, "Nah, we're not doing that," And I mean, I know him having a history of being a police officer. He's going to look out for the police officers, but at the same time, you would think that you would want systems in place to protect your police officers also, because if they're saying that your police officers are racial profiling or, being brutality, excessive force or whatever, wouldn't you want something, in place to show that that's not true, and if you had records to prove it, and then people are like, oh, your cops are racially profiling, and you could just pull out the data and be like, look at this data right here, it doesn't show that, so what y'all saying is not true. They're like, your cops are being brutal and brutalizing people, da da da. They could be like, hey, I got data right here that shows us that that's not true. But this guy, he wasn't interested in that. You got to wonder, why is that the case? He fought tooth and nail to keep from that happening. It didn't happen. That seemed like a common sense measure. And another comment up there said that they police the bad areas, and it's like, we know this is true. It happens in this city that I live in, and it's not that there's more crime happening in those areas either. You know what I mean? As opposed to other areas that aren't being policed, I mean, and if you're a smart criminal, then you're going to go to the areas where there's less police to do your dirt. You know what I mean? Like, it has to do with people that don't have money and, immigrants, people of color, the system, it feeds off of them, they don't have the money to fight the cases. They don't have money to pay bail. They don't have money to get lawyers. They take plea deals. We have all of these private prisons and they need spots. They need people in there, whether those people were guilty or not, or if it was nonviolent crimes, or if it was something having to do with chemical dependencies or loitering, little crimes, and you railroad them into the system, like they had the 3-strike rule that they had. I don't know I don't think that's in anymore, but it's like, you catch a case and then, something that they just railroaded you in, you get railroaded again. Maybe you actually do something the third time and then boom, you're gone, and the system is just making money. It's an industry, and it's like, spend money on education or build new prisons. It's like, hey, a prison is way more profitable than a school, at least in the short term. And if you think in monetary ways, because I really don't think that that's true at all, even monetarily long terms. But that's the way they look at it. So if you have a profit over people, if you have a profit over people model, then you're gonna end up with these same results every time. What do y'all think? There's another guy I really don't like, and that guy is Ken Paxton. Attorney General of Texas. So we're moving from a Democrat to a Republican. Yeah. I call it how I see it for whichever side. Both parties suck, Johnson. In different ways, but they both suck. Let me see. I think I got a clip in here. I know I do, but I freaking can't find it. Hold on. Yeah, Ken Paxton. He's up to his this guy is corrupt, bro. I'm sorry, y'all. Like, he is shady, he is corrupt, and he's like, I mean, even Abbott, I don't think Abbott likes Ken Paxton. Like, they don't get along. Like, and now that's crazy because they're on the same side of the political spectrum, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but the shadiness of this guy is so over the top. It's over the top for Abbott. The guy should be locked up. He keeps beating the game, and if you're the top law enforcement person in the state of this big, powerful state of Texas, it's hard for them to, you're slippery. You got friends on the inside. It's hard to catch you.
Welcome back to America Decides. Latino activists are calling for a federal investigation into a series of raids conducted by the Texas Attorney General's office in an effort to investigate allegations of voting improprieties. AG Ken Paxton's office said these undercover operations are happening in response to allegations that accuse some organizations of Texas of possibly unlawfully registering non-citizens or engaging in ballot harvesting. But the League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, is denouncing the raids as, quote, point-blank voter intimidation. Juan Proaño joins me now. He is the CEO of LULAC. Juan, it's great to see you. Describe what happened in these raids and what raises the highest level of concern for your organization.
Good evening, Mr. Garrett. What we heard on Thursday was very concerning to us. On Tuesday morning at 6 a.m., Lydia Martinez, a 35-year member of LULAC, was served with a search warrant. 7 to 8 police officers entered her home. They interrogated her for over 3 hours, looking for cell phones, computers, documentation relative to her voter registration efforts in San Antonio.
And what is the source of the information that led the Attorney General's office to take these actions, so far as you can tell?
There are a couple different narratives that we're hearing, but essentially he's saying that he has started this election integrity investigation over 2 years ago. It seems like it basically goes back to a Republican candidate who lost and basically reported, voter harvesting as the result of that. There was no evidence that was provided at all whatsoever.
So these raids occurred because subpoenas were issued, and you're still trying to find out what the source material or the evidentiary basis of those subpoenas was. Is that correct?
That's correct. There have been, at least from what we can tell, about 5 different subpoenas issued as of last Tuesday. Unfortunately, it took us about 48 hours to learn of this because the victims in this particular case were told not to talk to anyone about it. They were left without cell phones, without computers. In our case, Lydia Martinez, without her appointment book, which she basically uses to track all of her doctor's appointments, prescription medicine, no way to actually even contact her family. She actually had to drive to a neighbor's home to get help reconnecting with her family.
Has there been any effort to obtain a judicial injunction on this activity?
One of the defendants, Manuel Medina, actually has. So he has a lawyer and he has filed an injunction to stop the search of all the devices that essentially were seized during that raid. But we're working with our GULAG members to ensure that they also have legal protection and legal counsel as well.
So, they're softening up with this, but it's like, there's an organization that, helps people get, registered to vote. These are legal folks to be registered to vote. And it's an organization that, helps people get registered to vote. And so they just happen to be Latino community. And, the powers that be, including Kim Paxton, they have a problem with that. So they do these intimidation efforts where the people who are organizing these deals, they get them on. They don't have anything that can actually take these people to jail. They didn't break the law, but they make it seem as though they did in front of their neighbors and in front of the media and and others or whatever. And they basically it's intimidation. It scares the hell out of people and it sends them through problems. It gives them problems basically, and the point of it is to get them to stop doing what they're doing, but fortunately these folks have been dealing with adversity for a long time, so these kind of tactics don't work on the ones who's like organizing these events, but the people who aren't the ones that are organizing this, it does work on the regular folks. They're afraid. They don't want drama. It's not that, they want to be able to participate in an electoral process, but they don't want problems in their lives. You know what I mean? They just want to go to work, pay the bills, take care of their kids or whatever. You got police coming around and harassing me is a good enough reason for me to just be like, screw it. It doesn't matter that much anyways or whatever. What difference is my vote going to make anyways in a state like Texas? But you have to wonder, they're going as far as they're going to do this kind of stuff, then maybe your vote does matter here. Texas is a red state and it's been that way for a good amount of time. And then when you think about the presidential election that's coming up, Texas isn't even in play as far as all of the political pundits are saying. But you do have a race that is in play, and come to think of it, this might be the reason why they're doing this, is because you got Colin Allred versus Ted Cruz, and it's a tight race, and it's within the margin of error. The polling says it's within the margin of error. And I've been seeing a lot of Ted Cruz ads. I've been seeing a lot of Colin Allred ads. I don't like the guy Colin Allred. I don't like this. Nobody likes Ted Cruz. I don't think. It's crazy how this guy keeps winning because, in this state, a lot of folks do not like Ted Cruz, but somehow he pulls it out each time. But Colin Allred, I don't know. He cuts all his hair off. Doesn't have any eyebrows. I can't trust this person. Don't have no hair on their head. It seems like he's trying to be something he's not, like he's putting on a mask or whatever. Like I just don't trust him or whatever. But I ain't gonna lie. In that situation, maybe voting against Ted Cruz might be a deal. I don't know. I can't just tell you how I'm gonna vote or whatever, but but maybe voting against Ted Cruz might be the move. But yeah, so that particular race is in play. Texas is not in play on the presidential stage, but that Senate race is. And there may be some other lower races that are in play. That's the only one that I could think of is that Colin Allred and Ted Cruz. But but again, like if they're going so far to do these things, then maybe they see something in the numbers that the political pundits don't see. And maybe Texas is in play. Anyways, Paxton, let's do some more on this guy. Do not like this guy. Should be in jail. So let's look at this. It says Ken Paxton is shielding details about his real estate buying spree from the state. Of the 10 properties the Attorney General or his blind trust currently own, just one was listed on his most recent official financial statement. So it says Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has purchased millions of dollars worth of properties in recent years. So why is he keeping them secret? Paxton has blind trust, have been on a real estate buying spree since 2021, more than doubling his holdings by purchasing land and homes from Hawaii to Florida. But of the 10 properties the Attorney General or his blind trust currently own, just one was listed on his most recent official financial statement. That's even fewer than last year when the Texas newsroom first reported that Paxton did not disclose all of his properties to state ethics regulators. Experts said Paxton appeared to be violating state ethics rules. Elected officials are required to report all properties they own to the Texas Ethics Commission. But at the time, the Attorney General said he was not breaking the law and called it some made-up issue. Hold on. Oh, man. It says Paxton spokespeople did not answer questions about why he's choosing to disclose even less about his properties this year. One former ethics regulator said the Attorney General's financial disclosures or lack thereof appear to be ripe for investigation. This is actually very important document because of the possibility of improper influence of an office holder, said Jim Clancy, the former chairman of the Texas Ethics Commission. If a public servant's spending suddenly spikes, he said, it raises a question about the possibility of improper influence of an office holder who only has one reported source of income. Yeah, so where's the money coming from? State ethics commissions are taking a look at financial disclosure requirements as part of a larger periodic review of agency rules. They could take up the issue at their meeting this month. A Republican in the third term, Paxton is no stranger to controversy. I can't read today. The FBI investigators investigating him for alleged corruption, and he continues to face legal ethics lawsuits for his role in challenging the 2020 presidential election. So, let's see. Ken Paxton corruption. So, in case you didn't know, they tried to impeach this guy very recently. They failed, but they tried. How many freaking attorney generals, how many times do they try to impeach attorney general? And then in a state like Texas, and he's a Republican, like how freaking shady and corrupt you got to be a Republican in Texas and for them to try to impeach you, bro. There's no, the Republicans dominate this state.
Out of Texas, where state senators there just finished voting minutes ago, acquitting Attorney General Ken Paxton on all articles of impeachment. He's been suspended from his duties since May, but can now, in fact, return to work. I want to bring in NBC's Priscilla Thompson, who's standing by for us in Austin, has been following this from the very beginning. Priscilla, walk us through what we know.
Yasmin. Well, after almost 2 weeks of testimony and closing arguments with both sides making the best case possible, today those senators went into the chamber and they voted on each of these 16 articles of impeachment, which included things like bribery, conspiracy, dereliction of duty, and ultimately the votes are in, and 2/3 of the chamber did not feel that he was guilty of those crimes. He has been acquitted of every single one of them, and there were also 4 additional articles of impeachment that were not being considered because of other pending things going on in court, and those were just dismissed. So he is cleared of all 20 of the articles of impeachment that were originally brought by the House. He is free to be reinstated and return to work as the Attorney General here in Texas. And what we saw in this vote was there were at most 2 Republicans on any given article that voted to impeach, but of course it was not enough to hit that 21 vote threshold that would have been required. I expect that we will be getting a statement from Ken Paxton any moment now. We know that the folks that led the House managers that led this, those attorneys are expected to speak in just a short while, but certainly got to be a big disappointment for them. This was a historic impeachment. We have not seen anything like this in more than a century here, and clearly the members of the House believed that there was reason to convict. It is why they sent it over to the Senate, but after listening to all of that evidence, there were not 21 senators in that room that wanted to vote to convict him. And of course, there's also the underlying political issues here. Those 2 Republicans I mentioned who did vote in favor of some of these articles of impeachment are not up for re-election until 2026. But Ken Paxton's super PAC has made very clear that any Republicans who did not stand with him through this would be in their target as the upcoming as elections come up. So,
and that did happen. I can't remember. I covered it too, but I can't remember how the results worked out because he was putting money behind the opponents of the people who went up against him through this. Like, he held a grudge and went in on them. I don't remember how the results happened in the election, so I'm not gonna just say that'd probably be difficult for me to look that up. Damn it. I'm gonna have to move through this quickly because I just got a text. All right. Let's move on then. Because we gotta do a little bit more before we go to cover the title. Let's talk about Diddy. I really didn't want to talk about Diddy. I didn't really want to talk about him. But I put it in the title, so What's really unfortunate about this is that, being that Diddy is getting in trouble, it's a lot of other names connected to him that has to answer these kinds of questions. And, maybe some of these people were, involved in this stuff, and, maybe they weren't. And it's really sad because a lot of names, are popping up because, he was big time guy, in the music industry. So he has a lot of friends and associates. So it's like everyone that he has been in contact with is now implicated, as far as in the eyes of the public, that they were possibly, involved in some of this stuff. And I think that's unfortunate because we don't know that. So to assume it is not fair to these people. The Shade Room posted this. It says, there have been many people sharing their thoughts after Diddy was arrested by officials in New York City earlier this week. Former Bad Boy rapper and current leader of the opposition in the Belize House of Representatives, Shine Burrow, spoke with the media in Belize. And when asked his thoughts about Diddy's arrest, his reflection on the 1999 club shooting that ultimately landed him in prison for almost 9 years. Shine said that the mogul was responsible for sending him to prison when he tried to defend him. Shine made it clear that although they reconciled after his release, their interactions were only for business purposes, he said. This is someone that destroyed my life and who I forgave and who I moved on, and for the better interests of Belize, because he was in the position at that time to give scholarships and maybe to invest, I would not deny attempting to bring the investments to Belize and bring the contribution to education. Yeah, so Shine is now a politician in Belize, and he has to go through this because he had a connection with Diddy, and it's been like, I don't know, like 20 years since then. Unfortunate. Let me play Umar's comments on this. Oh, shoot, I wasn't sharing. I'm sorry. Dang it. I wish I would have told me. Tell me if I'm not sharing or something. I'm not sharing. Let me play the clip I just played, even though y'all. Let's just do Dr. Umar first. Then I'm going to go back and play the Shine clip again because.
Puffy Combs' federal charges have little, if anything, to do with domestic abuse or pedophilia. His major sex crime federally is he's being accused of transporting women across state lines to engage in sex. What we call prostitution. Not Casey, not the freak-offs, not underage girls, but prostitution. Why am I bringing this up? Because I don't support prostitution either. I do not support men paying for the sugar box. I do not support black women having to sexually exploit their sugar box in order to pay their bills.
So funny.
With that being said, prostitution is the oldest female business on the planet Earth. Prostitution is the oldest female business on the planet Earth.
He always repeats
prostitution is the oldest female business on the planet Earth.
3 times.
It is the sexual trafficking that Sean Puffy Combs is being accused of. Not domestic abuse, not freak-offs, not stomping out Cassie, not engaging in sex with underage women. It is interstate sexual trafficking. That is the charge. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up, peace God, because when I listen to the news, they're not talking about the evidence against Sean Puffy Combs. When I listen to the news, they're not talking about the evidence of Sean Puffy Combs. When I listen to the news, I have yet to hear anybody give me a specific piece of interstate sex trafficking evidence against Sean Puffy Combs. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it for the low political IQ Negroes. I'm going to say it for the average political IQ Negroes. And I'm going to say it for the high IQ Negroes. I haven't seen or heard a single piece of evidence against Sean Puffy Combs. I ain't read it in the New York Times. I ain't read it in the Philadelphia Inquirer. I ain't heard it on CNN. I ain't seen it on headline news. Where is the evidence that Sean Puffy Combs engaged in interstate sex trafficking? I keep hearing about Cassie when I turn on the news. Why are we hearing about Cassie when Cassie has nothing to do with the federal indictment? I don't think any black man should have 1,000 bottles of baby oil. I don't think any black man needs 1,000 bottles of baby oil.
We're gonna say the third time.
But I haven't seen anywhere in federal law where owning 1,000 bottles of baby oil is a federal crime.
That goes the third time.
Brothers and sisters, are you with me so far? Brothers and sisters, are you with me so far?
2.
Do you understand, overstand, and understand what the most requested black scholar in the world is saying right now?
Oh my God.
Do you understand and overstand and understand
Number 2.
what the most requested black scholar in the world is saying right now? Do you understand,
Oh my God.
overstand, and understand
There goes number 3.
what the premier Pan-Africanist on the planet is saying to you right now?
What are you
Baby
saying?
oil is not a federal crime.
True.
Stomping out Cassie, he was not charged with a crime. The freak-offs are not crimes. So why do we keep hearing about Cassie? Why do we keep hearing about baby oil? Why do we keep hearing about freak-offs? Where are the federal charges, and why are the charges being sealed? Why did the feds seal the charges against Sean Puffy Combs?
They do that all the time.
I'm going to tell you one reason why the feds sealed the charges against Sean Puffy Combs. One of the biggest reasons they sealed the charges against Sean Puffy Combs is because the evidence is probably weak. The evidence is probably weak. And because the evidence is probably weak that he is guilty of interstate sex trafficking, and because the evidence is probably weak that he is guilty of interstate sex trafficking, they had to seal the charges.
Well, they do that all the time. But I think he has a good point. You know, it's like the court of public opinion nowadays. You know, you do this type of deal and then everybody makes their mind up and have come to the conclusions about guilt or innocence or whatever, based on some stuff they've seen on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or whatever. And, you know, the truth is we don't know. Okay. We don't know. We can't assume, you know, these things. We don't know unless you was there. You don't know. So, you know, I'm not trying to be defensive of Diddy. You know, there's been rumors about Diddy for years. But, you know, how much of that stuff was actual like crimes or whatever? How much of that was, you know, these people were complicit, like they were going along with it? Because if they were, then that doesn't really necessarily make it a crime, depending on the circumstances. What I'm saying is, you know, we don't know. So public opinion of us trying to be judge and jury based on Facebook posts is not fair. So I think that's the point of what he's saying. And I saw some posts, 50 Cent was saying, you know, one of the reasons why Diddy is going through what he's doing. By the way, 50 Cent is about to drop a docu-series on Diddy. He's finna capitalize on this situation and make a bunch of money. He has done it over and over again. You know, the dude's a freaking genius when it comes to making money. Like, he jumps on stuff really quickly. I want to say Netflix has already picked up his deal. And, you know, whenever it's like a docuseries type of deal, you don't have to produce a lot of, like, you just go out and do interviews. It's low overhead. basically. And he's gonna make a killing off of it, regardless of how much truth is in it or not or whatever. It doesn't even matter. People are going to watch it. The sooner it comes out, the better, as far as making money. So yeah, I mean, he did the same thing with the BMF folks. Right after they got in trouble, boom, docuseries. Anyways, he said that Diddy was going through it related to his liquor and his liquor line, and he gave these people a hard time, basically. And that 50 Cent is saying that's part of the reason why this is happening now. And now that sounds like that makes sense. Oh man, I want to play this Shine clip because I didn't play it a minute ago, but I'm running out of time. I got to get out of here. Hold on. So much stuff I want to cover, so I guess I'm going to do a show tomorrow and make sure I get this other stuff. Because I got to go pick up my daughter. She texted me. No, maybe I'll play the Shine clip and then get up out of here. Oh, let's play this.
The indictment against Diddy, meaning they're telling us what they're charging him with. Now they've arrested him. That are missing. It's 14 pages long, and if you're on X, where we can post links, the link will be right below. Basically, they're charging him with guns, prostitution, drugs, and the whole racketeering thing. But they are not charging him with anything related to minors, anything related to video or sexual blackmail. And notably, Lucian Grange's name, the CEO of Universal Music Group that was in the original allegations, his name's nowhere to be found. We'll dig into some theories on all that in just a second, but first, some key points and a funny thing. They talk about the freak-offs, and they talk about raiding his home and finding supplies for the freak-offs. Notably, apparently in the raid of Diddy's home, they found more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. Bro. They are clearly drawing from the Cassie lawsuit with statements like, these assaults often resulted in injuries that took days or weeks to heal. I'm sure she's not the only witness they've got. These occasions included instances in which a victim was required to remain in hiding, sometimes for several days at a time, to recover from injuries Combs inflicted without being publicly observed. Cassie alleged that at one point it was more than a week, maybe multiple weeks, to heal from her injuries. It's a fucked up lawsuit. He's also charged with tampering with witnesses by bribing and intimidating them, including acts of violence, including kidnapping and arson, multiple counts of that. They also found 3 AR-15s with defaced serial numbers and a drum magazine, along with a ton of drugs and other stuff. They list out the specific drug compounds. And now here's the bigger picture. What they're actually doing to him is they're basically charging him with enough to put him away for good, theoretically. And they're seeking to forfeit any and all property, real and personal, involved and used in any of these crimes, as well as any property, stuff, profits derived from or proceeds obtained from any of these crimes.
I have to mention, they were saying that he moved, like, it's the cases are in New York, right? I want to say. And wherever the cases are, he moved there to fight the cases or whatever. And he voluntarily, submitted himself or whatever. So, that's not what Russell Simmons did. Russell Simmons went to a country that he can't be extradited from, and it makes me wonder, is Diddy just so gangster that he feels like, he's above all of it, or does he actually truly feel like he's innocent? He's going to be able to beat the case, and that, it doesn't really have much merit. Me, I don't have much faith in the law enforcement infrastructure that we have here in the United States, whether I was innocent or guilty. Either way, I wouldn't feel comfortable with the situation. I probably would have went with the Russell Simmons choice, you know, just to be safe, because I know people that are innocent that went to jail and got locked up and didn't have anything to do with anything, you know. And then there's also people that has done things and they've beaten it. So I don't know, you know, why would he go and subject himself to this? You know, I guess he's so gangster that he feels like, you know, he could beat it. He does have some powerful friends. So,
including if he's gotten rid of anything, sold anything, or his ass.
oh yeah, and the thing about the videotapes and stuff. So then, you know, that's one of the hashtags that's going around is Diddy didn't kill himself, you know, because he's locked up now. And, you know, they say that he has videos of, you know, powerful people doing things that are, you know, shady or whatever, or embarrassing. And also, you know, you've got the stuff about all of those presidents, CEOs, executives that are retiring, that are in that orbit, you know, of the music industry or whatever. Like that, it could be nothing. It could just be coincidence, but that's a thing too.
Assets have diminished in value. They intend to take from him equal value to everything he's being charged with, regardless. They'll basically claw it back from him. It's worth noting that these charges are being brought in the Southern District of New York, which is notoriously corrupt, and it is the same district that brought the charges against Epstein, although they did put Epstein in jail, so I guess that's something going for them. So anyways, the pessimistic take here is that they're not charging him with any of the darkest and most important shit. They're letting all the other people off the hook. Lucian Grange is not named. There's no upwards charges. They're not going for the big conspiracy. No mention of sexual blackmail or the videotapes, the hidden cameras, any of that. That's kind of whack. The optimistic take, which is totally plausible. Liz Crokin has shared this take, and she's been on this longer than anyone, just about. Very possible, is that they're using this strategically in order to go after Diddy hard enough to make him squeal on the bigger fish involved, so that they can start making more arrests and start going after the larger organization, because they are charging him with racketeering, and they do clearly lay out a criminal organization which he was a ringleader in. But that's where things stand right now. Personally, I am not optimistic that we're going to get what this case really deserves, and I am not optimistic that the big fish are actually going to get fried. I'd bet they're going to arrest a bunch of other people that you've never heard of, maybe a couple rappers, maybe a producer or two that were involved in this scheme and did horrible things and deserve to go to prison for the rest of their lives, but that they are not going to go up to people like Lucian, that they're not going to go towards the video blackmail angle, and that we're never going to see those tapes or hear about that blackmail ring. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it cracks wide open. But I don't think Jay-Z's worried too much right now. But he should be, because we're coming for him. We're coming for all of them. All lies will be exposed. They've released the
Yeah, so like if it was a situation where Diddy, if they did squeeze Diddy, and then he was like, you know, I'm snitching on everybody. So, you know, I could totally see Diddy doing that, you know, and be like, bruh, such and such name, such and such and such and such. And I got evidence, da 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 da. Because if they were gonna give him like some real time, and he's like, man, you know, I got 5 kids, you know, I'm not trying to be in here for the rest of my life or whatever. I'm snitching on everybody. I wouldn't blame him either. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. If I was in that situation too, man, I mean, it might put your life in danger, but hey, y'all know what y'all did. Y'all did what y'all did. So, hey, I'm snitching on everybody. Every name. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to come on tomorrow night, and we're gonna cover the second Trump assassination attempt. We'll talk about that, and we'll probably talk about Hezbollah and the exploding pagers and walkie-talkies. Don't have time to get into that today. Yeah, I gotta go pick up my daughter, so I'm gonna get out of here. Peace, love. Thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for